and thereof.
It's your God Call with Reverend Bill.
I got some interesting insight this week about quarantine, and it came from, of all places, Emmett Fox, and it was from decades ago, and it was about putting your thoughts in quarantine. When there's a new intention that we're setting, when there's something new that we want to invite into life, what we really want to do is be clear about the situation that we want to have, and then put those thoughts in quarantine. Don't go near them again to ponder them or to introduce doubt. Leave them there and allow the situation to get better and better.
Blindfolded hands over your mouth and your ears refuse to hear the three little words that echo in your mind. They've been trying to hide, they've been trying to hide. Slowly but surely your heart breaks off the chains holding you down, and you are found eyes open wide, and your hands reaching out. Let your ears hear the sounds. Hallelujah, hallelujah, you are loved. The world will tell you otherwise, leave you hypnotized with money and fame. But if you let him look in your eyes, you'll see the brighter side. Live in the light. Do not be afraid. Slowly but surely your heart breaks off the chains holding you down, and you are found eyes open wide, and your hands reaching out. Let your ears hear the sounds. Hallelujah, hallelujah, you are loved by those around you, by those who ground you, by those who know who you really are. To those that hate you, to those that break you, turn the other cheek and scream it out. Scream it out with eyes open wide, and your hands reaching out. Let your ears hear the sounds. Hallelujah, hallelujah, you are loved. You are loved. You are loved.
Thank you, Alyssa. What a wonderful opening. Good morning, New Thought Philadelphia and the rest of the world. We're so delighted you're here today. I can feel the love flowing through the electronics. It's just a wonderful thing. So let's get started. Please repeat after me. I open myself to love and healing.
I open myself to love and healing.
I open myself to joy.
I open myself to joy.
I open myself to the awareness of the good surrounding me.
I open
myself to the awareness of the good surrounding me.
And I know love is right here, right now.
I know
love is right here, right now.
And so it is.
So it is.
I'm Reverend Dave Schbach. Our music today is by the absolutely stellarly delightful Alyssa Garcia. And up next is Reverend Bill Marcioni.
Hey, good morning, and thank you all for being here. We're working out the protocol and etiquette of how to do Sunday celebrations on Zoom. So for the most part, your mic is going to be muted. If there's a time to share and you want to share, you can either wave your hand and Ace technologist Luke will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. Do please keep your mic muted when you're not the one who's speaking, just because it makes it better for everybody when you do that. So as you know, New Thought Philadelphia is an open and loving community of spiritual adventurers, welcoming each person to celebrate to experience their divine nature in an empowering space of unconditional love. So whatever path you've been on, whatever brought you through our Zoom today, wherever you're heading next, we have been expecting you, and welcome. So around here, we believe that there's one power, love, intelligence, or force which creates everything, including each of us, and that we each use that same power, love, intelligence, or force to create our lives according to our beliefs. And as we like to put it, our new life begins with a new thought. If you have extraneous electronics that will be distracting you, we were invited to turn those off so you can turn our attention away from the world around us to that truth within as we go through this next hour and 15 minutes or so. If you're on mute, it's not going to bother the rest of us, so just do that for yourself. We begin our celebration today the way we begin everything, with a practical prayer. I am the practitioner of the day. So if somebody else wants to do our prayer, you can wave your hand now. Or otherwise, I will just, I would be happy, I would be graced to be able to lead the prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes or go into a soft focus so we can turn away from the stuff, the goings on, the activity or the inactivity in the world around us, and open ourselves to that truth, that indwelling truth, that underlying truth, the truth beyond our senses, that there is one power and presence, one divine love that creates everything, that has created everything, that continues to create. That one infinite power began with nothing but itself, an idea, and this unlimited, unformed substance, and intentionally created everything that we know and experience. It was the Big Bang. It was the infinite saying, let there be light. Whatever the story is, it is that one sharing itself through all of its creation. So everything is a part of creation. Everything, everyone, everywhere, every moment, every activity, it is all that divine and perfect expression of God's love forming in a new and special way. That's true of me, that's true of each of us, that's true of everyone who we come in contact with. This celebration is the activity of the infinite itself, forming and shaping and sharing itself in a new way, with the opportunity to bring more love, more joy, more harmony, more peace, more prosperity, more health, more creativity, and more love into the world. So that's what's going on in this celebration today. I know that all the words, all the music, all of the exchanges, all of the ideas, the ahas, are the way that the infinite is sharing itself through us and in us and as us. This is the way the bright light of God's love shines. This is the way that love unfolds. This is goodness expressing, and I'm grateful for it. And with deep gratitude for all of this good unfolding, I speak this word, I release it to the creative law that has always said yes, that said yes when the infinite said, let there be. I know it once again is saying yes. And so it is. Amen. So the reason that we do a practical prayer is because we are changing an experience in our life. So if anybody has been doing a practical prayer that has gotten a result for you, love to have you share that at this point. Anybody? Breen is waving.
Green is waving. So I've been working on a prayer around peace of mind, specifically with regards to the current political climate and national, international elected officials and their behaviors and attitudes. I was finding myself getting very, very spun up a few weeks ago. I put it into prayer, and it's in prayer with I'm taking the spiritual practices class. And of course, prayer is a spiritual practice. So I've got a small focus group that's been praying with me and for me. And I can very gratefully report that I feel much better. One of the things was to have faith in that everything is evolving towards some better good. I've managed to pry myself away from social media and from the news and things that are going on. And someone said to me yesterday something about Kim Jong-un being missing. I'm like, oh, what? I didn't hear about that. So I was glad I never heard about that. So it's working, feeling good, feeling much better.
Excellent. Excellent. Nice. Anybody else? A prayer work story to share? Sarah.
I can also piggyback on a little bit of what Breen was saying about the spiritual practices class. I was fortunate enough to, not this past class, but the class before, get a week's worth of prayers from my prayer group. And the purpose was to use time more efficiently and not just productively, but in a joyous way. And so since then, I have like tie-dyed more than 10 things, and I have painted and I have felt great, but I've also pre-planned my work month for the whole month of May. And so like both spheres of that are like being productive but also being fun. And my boss was joking, he was like, it's the first of the month and you have the whole month like scheduled. And then of course he had to like sit with me for 15 minutes trying to poke holes in what the plan was, and sure enough it was divinely guided and it all like makes sense. So this month is like kind of set, which is great, and I attest that to Prayer Works.
Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else? One more? Well, I will use those wonderful testimonials just to reinforce that the classes that we offer are ways to really have some transformation in your life. So when Joe gets to the part about the Beyond Limits class that starts on Tuesday, perhaps consider whether that's something that you'd like to have happen for yourself. Speaking of Joe and the announcements, here's Joe, who's our host today, with the announcements.
Please join our Philly Spiritual Adventurers group on meetup.com. It includes our classes, workshops, events, and Sunday celebrations, and new programs at various times and locations. It's also an easy place to let fellow adventurers know you'll be at an event. We're hosting daily online meditation, prayer, and support calls. They're short, usually less than 15 minutes. They include a check-in and a meditation on health, harmony, peace, and prosperity. Every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., Saturday at 10:30 a.m., and Sunday at 6 p.m. They're open to everyone and use the same Zoom meeting as we do for the Sunday celebration. Our classes, Beyond Limits, is our foundational class in New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, which is open to everyone. It begins this Tuesday, May 5th from 7 to 9:30 on Zoom, of course. It runs for 10 weeks. The class fee is $200. Payment plans and scholarships are available. And if you're thinking about this, it's a wonderful class. You can talk to me or Breen or Sarah or I think Luke. So there's a few of us have taken it and it's really a worthwhile class. So seriously think about it.
And I just want to jump in and say one thing about the Beyond Limits class is we need to get 2 or 3 additional students in order to be able to run the class. So if you're on the fence, we're going to be making the decision this evening. Making a decision and registering sooner rather than later would be good. And it's a powerful program.
Thank you. Practical Prayer Workshop will be held on Saturday, May 16th from 12:30 to 5 on Zoom. You can learn the scientifically proven steps of effective affirmative prayer that are common to virtually all of the world's religions and spiritual practices. This is included for the Beyond Limits students. If you're not in the class, you can still attend. The workshop fee is $25 and everyone is welcome. The Women's Circle will meet again on Thursday, May 28th by Zoom. You can contact me or Sandy for details. We're also able to accept donations and payments via credit cards in addition to PayPal. There's a secure credit card platform that also supports recurring donations. You can find the donate button on our website and use that for any donations you'd like to make. The Revs and the practitioners, that's Breen and I, are available for healing prayer sessions. Please contact us through the website. After celebration, the practitioner of the day, who is Reverend Bill, is available for short, urgent prayer sessions at no charge. You can reach out to Reverend Zill by Zoom chat or email reverendbill@newthoughtphilly.org to set up a brief phone call. We'll leave the Zoom meeting on after the celebration to answer questions and to allow you to talk with each other.
Thank you, Joe. And I just wanted to say a quick thanks. Normally, we in our announcements when we're in person, we thank the hugs, the hosts, ushers, greeters, and setup folks. Now, obviously, there's a little less cutting of bagels and setting out chairs that we have to do. But the whole group gets together at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon for a technical rehearsal. And then we also do a final run through this morning. So a shout out to Luke and Sarah, who are technologically masterminding this thing. And thank you to everybody else who is making this whole thing come together. We're completely, it's a blessing. Speaking of blessings, we have a blessing for our first time visitors. Our second time visitors also get a gift. We're holding off on handing out gifts until it's safe to do so. But if there's somebody who's here for the first time, just wave your hand or come off mute and say who you are. And we would like to do a specific shout out to you. Looks like everybody has been here once before who's acknowledging it. So what the rest of us are going to do, actually, put your hands together, get some warmth, and we're going to send this warmth around to everybody in the group. We are the bright lights of God's love, and I am grateful for the wonderful way that that light is shining and sharing and expressing in the world. What a blessing. So it is. So as Alyssa begins the next song, we're going to do that Brady Bunch thing where we look around to the various squares here, look up over there and down below and whatnot, and just you know, with a quick greeting or a wave to the people who you are celebrating Sunday morning with. Alyssa?
You're not alone. Together we stand. I'll be by your side. You know I'll take your hand. When it gets cold and it feels like the end, there's no place to go. You know I won't give in. No, I won't give in. Keep holding on, 'cause you know we'll make it through, make it through. Just stay strong, 'cause you know I'm here for you,
Beautiful. Thank you. So we're now going to light the flames of faith. And reading today is going to be Carla Ann, and Reverend Dave is switching to camera 2, and he will actually be lighting the flames. Carla Ann, I'm going to unmute you. There we go.
Thank you. We perform this ceremony to acknowledge that all people and all faiths come from the one power, love, intelligence, which we call spirit or God. We honor the richness that comes from our shared diversity and bless the interwoven energy of the divine feminine and masculine. We light the first candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the fourth noble truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. As Reverend Dave lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone or any place you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Our reading today is an original work by Dina Marchioni.
There we go. Now I am. Good morning. How are you? So this was an unexpected gift during one of those sleepless nights that probably everybody has every so often. And so here it is. This used to be my time, the dead of night where the world sleeps and I can hear myself think, where I watch the moon run from one side of the sky to the other, playing footsie with the stars and hide and seek with the sun. This time brought out my muse, and I had something to say, and I bent the words to my will or let them float on the jet stream. This is the most divine time, where the little things can finally get some attention. The sound of still air, of my breath, the random growls in my stomach, the yearning of my heart, all crystal clear in this blessed silence. So grateful to be in this moment. Isn't this the way of life? That sewn inside the fabric of discord is the blessed gift of something, if you notice. Thank you, moon. Thank you, life.
Thank you, Dina. Alyssa?
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night much they hold. And just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. And when you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We've got a lot to learn, but God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't wanna be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. The difference is they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we did intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I've got and what I'm not, and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. I'm still looking up. I won't give up on us. God knows I'm tough enough. We've got a lot to learn, but God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Pardon me, I got a technology thing going on.
I threw a curveball at Reverend Dave. A last minute reminder about a recording. So.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. All right, so let's talk about God. Oh, and you know, I know a lot of people have an aversion to that term. It's a three-letter word, and some people think it's a curse. But we're not talking about the old idea of God. And that old idea of God is God made in man's image. It's the anthropomorphized idea that there is something that is exactly like us that sits out there in the sky, as we used to say, or somewhere other than us, that is picking, choosing, and pointing fingers and saying, thou art worthy, and thou art not, and thou are going to end up in eternal hell because I didn't like what you did last Sunday. That's not the God we're talking about. When I say God, what I'm talking about is that omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniactive power upon which everything is founded. Everything is emerging from and expressing itself in this eternal moment as that expression of life that we can't explain. It's so big that we can't wrap our mind around it. And when we try, what we come up with is this old idea that it is us at a larger scale, which is functional to some degree, because we can only know the universe by our experience as human beings in this life as we move forward. And so we think of God in those terms because that is the knowable God that we can understand. But what I want to talk about in this idea of a new God, spirit, universal power, whatever you want to name it in your mind, if you have some aversion to that term of God, I'm just trying to explain what I mean by it, is that that power and presence is everywhere, always and always active. It is all-knowing. That's what omniscience means. That means that every idea that was ever had, that could ever be had, is already residing within the infinite intelligence that is permeating everything, from the activity of the cells and bodies to the vastness of all of the celestial bodies that we know about, and beyond those. It is all in the mind of this infinite. That's what omniscience is. And the omnipotent is that all of the power, all of the presence, all that ever was, is, or will be, is residing right now as that infinite source coming into being through us, as us, in response to the infinite idea of creativity. That's what I mean when I say God. That's what I mean when I say spirit. And then there's the omnipresence. This idea of omnipresence is that God is equally present in all of its parts because it is only a unity of being. There's not something outside of God. There is only the oneness of life that is God. And that is, in fact, what we are living, moving, and having our being as a part of. So all of that must be present. All of that power, all of that intelligence, all of that good must be present right here, right now, in the fullness of its being for me to experience. Now, there's this other thing that's omniactive, which is a later addition to the three biggies that were in some of the earlier scriptural writings. But this omniactivity is the fact that there is motion going on. We can see it, we can feel it. All of our senses tell us that there is things happening. We see, all of the laws of the universe that we can use for scientific purposes to create things, all of the good that we experience in our lives, all of the activity of humankind and animal kind and plant kind and everything on this mud ball that we live on, as well as all of the other ones out there in the universe. This is the activity of God expressing itself through all of its creation. And that activity is ever present and ever unfolding and ever becoming something new. All within the one. So that is the power and the presence that I talk about when I think of God. And when I think of God, what that does is it aligns me personally. Sorry for the hand over the microphone. Just wanted to touch my heart for a moment and it got involved in it. When I think of all of this good that is the universal life, there's two things. One, it's not in contradiction to itself. So if God is love, there can't be something other than the love that God is. It's all there is. If God is life, it can't be something other than the life God is, because there's nothing in opposition to a unity of life. This is the idea that brings me into a personal connection with that infinite power and presence. And that is available to each one of us if we choose to be aware of it. It's happening whether we're aware of it or not, but we can choose to be aware of it. And when we choose to be aware of it, we become unified with a greater idea, a greater wholeness, a greater understanding of the infinite power and presence which we're moving, living, and having our being within and using in each and every moment. Okay, so for those of you in the know, we have just done the first 2 steps of practical prayer. Okay, we've recognized that there's a power out there that we can use, and we've recognized that we are using that power and are part of it. That's what the first 2 steps in a practical prayer are. Which brings us to the topic of prayer, because today's talk is positive persistence. And one of the questions that often comes about when we talk about using practical prayer is, how often should I do this? And I'm going to get back to that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about prayer. There are a couple of different kinds of prayer. There's the old form of prayer in which we are petitioning something outside of ourselves to give us a solid. Please, God, let this happen for me so that I may have some good in my life. Or, please, God, let this happen for them because I think that's the best thing for them. On the other side of that is, please, God, open up the earth and have them swallow that person. That is positive in one sense, but not the positive that I'm talking about. Because what we do, that's one form of prayer, is the petition to some external power or force to grant us, because of our own internal goodness and adherence to the laws of the whatever body you may be associated with, which will allow for it to give us that good that we're looking for. I don't believe in the petition for prayer. That's my personal understanding, because all good is present right here and right now. In that infinite power and love, there's no option for it to respond in anything other than a positive, affirmative manner, because that's the nature of life. It always says yes, which makes it incumbent upon us to ask the right questions and claim the right good. Because if it's always saying yes, it's saying yes to everything, absolutely everything. So another form of prayer is what we call affirmative prayer or practical prayer. And what an affirmative prayer or practical prayer is a movement in thought of the one doing the prayer to align ourselves with our greatest understanding of good, to know that that good must be present for us right now via what I just talked about, and to allow ourselves to accept that good in our lives in this very moment now. Because, and I'm sure some of you have noticed this, when we want something to happen in our lives, we desire something to come about in our lives, we focus our awareness, our activity, and our thoughts upon that. And when we do that and it becomes part of our life, we forget that it never was part of our life before then, because it seems to always have been part of our life. And in so doing, we accept it, we embody it, and we know that it is ours now. Now, an affirmative prayer is moving from the experience of that to the cause of that. Because thought is causative, and when we have positive, powerful, personal, and present tense thoughts, it brings that experience into our being. We embody it, as we like to say in New Thought. We embody it into a reality in our perception, and then it becomes real for us. And that is the sequence of events. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about affirmative prayer, because everybody can do this. Absolutely, there's nobody who is higher than anybody else in the ability to actually perform a practical prayer and have it come true in their lives. Perhaps there's some learning that needs to be done and some attention to our thinking so that we are actually and consistently or persistently focused upon the good that we want to experience and stop wanting it, but actually accepting that good so that we have it now. In that sense, the core of a practical prayer is not a willpower thing. It is not pushing to have something happen. It is an acceptance of something that already is. And many of our prayers go out there with something added to them that might be a little bit in the future. Because our experience at the moment, the facts of our experience may not be aligning with what we are claiming in prayer. And so there may be some disbelief in our understanding that this good must be present right here, right now, which is slowing the evidence of it in our experience. So in this middle of this prayer, this realization, as we like to call it, is the realization that the good is already here. And how do we claim that? Because we must claim it or it's not ours. It's still out there in the future. How do we claim that? We claim that by making a statement that is personal. That's an I am statement. It's a claim of the good that we have in our lives right now. I am this, right? That it is powerful. It is clear and concise about what it is that we're claiming. I have my good now. It can be flowery if you want it to be, but it doesn't need to be. It can be, but as long as it is a powerful statement, not something like, well, maybe I'll have this later and it'll come along when I want it. No, it's a claim of something good right now. And personal in that this is mine now. That goes back to the that knowing that we have it now. Here's a trick. The part of it is it needs to be positive because life itself is positive. Love itself is positive. As life unfolds, we need to align with the positive aspect of that to know the truth back of whatever it is that we're looking for. And as we look to that positive statement or affirmation in the middle of our prayer, we understand it's good right now. And that's the last one, present tense. And this is the one a lot of people trip up on, because how can I have something that I don't actually have my hands on now? Well, we have it in consciousness. When we develop a consciousness of something, then it becomes real in our experience. If I want love in my experience, then I develop a consciousness of love, I become love, and love comes back to me as a reflection of the love that I've become. If we want prosperity in our lives, we first become conscious of the infinite prosperity and abundance that is around us, in us, and through us. And as a reflection of that consciousness of prosperity, it flows into our lives in experience. True of all the other aspects that we could be praying about, whether it be career, relationships, spiritual development on top of those others. So once we've created our practical prayer, and we've done it, right? We've said our practical prayer. There's a thanksgiving for the good that we've received and a release into this infinite law that we have always talked about, the cause and effect of that divine mind working upon our idea to bring something about in actuality. We've released it to that law, and then it hasn't happened right away. What do we do with that? Now we get to the question of how often should I pray? Ernest Holmes had a really succinct way of answering that. He says, you pray until you demonstrate, which means we pray until it fully establishes whatever idea that is, establishes itself in our consciousness as a reality and becomes a reality. And we don't need to pray for it anymore when it's already a reality of our experience. Hence, prayer works. In that aspect of it is where the persistence comes in. Each prayer is a unit in itself. It's an idea in mind. However, our minds are filled with many, many different things, not all of them positive. I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed that. Gone through an entire day without a negative thought of some type or another. Please call me. I'd like to talk to you about that. But what happens is the law is always active. It is always responding to our thoughts. So when we have a thought that is in contradiction to the good that we've stated that we've desired in our prayer, it's kind of slowing up the process of it coming into our experience because we've had a neutralizing thought. And working on those neutralizing thoughts when we have them is to go back to a prayer and say, okay, wait a minute. I know this good must be present. I know this good is mine now because I'm part of that which is present. And I claim it again for myself, and I release that prayer to the law and let the law go about its work again. And if we're persistent about this, if we allow ourselves the gift of giving this to ourselves every single day, then we get to experience the life. Because can you imagine having a life where your deepest desires, your most creative expressions, your unity of love with the people around you, your experience of the limitless source of abundance, and a deep spiritual joy and connection is happening in every moment is the norm? Imagine that. We each have the power to do this in each and every moment. So I invite you, as you go about your day, choose prayer. Allow it, experiment with it, use it, and get to experience the benefits of the results from it. Because aligning ourselves with the highest good is the highest good. Peace and blessings. I love you.
It's me. It's always been my fault. I keep trying, but it always falls apart. I am stuck. I just keep fighting with myself on and on, on and on. I push away anyone whom I care, can't seem to love. No, I can't find it anywhere. So I pray to God I'll see the light. He knows that I'll change. I wanna love, I wanna be happy and free to make mistakes. I want my better life, my happy ever after. I want to survive my miracle, my answer. I'm finding myself, changing who I am. This is a promise that I will always keep. For my better life. I've been afraid of failure and judgment. I've been scared of my own reflection and how they saw me, what I stood for. Who am I in my life. I'll change for the better. I'll change my heart so that one day I'll be okay. So that one day I'll be okay. This is my better life, my happy ever after. This is how I'll survive, my miracle, my answer. I'm finding myself, changing who I am. Oh, this is a promise that I will always keep. For my better life.
Thank you, Alyssa. So we get to spend a few minutes with the most important person in our lives, and that, of course, is ourselves. And when we get into meditation, we often instruct you to close your eyes. And the reason that we do that is because your eyes are really, really sophisticated. Your eyes will tell you everything that is in the world around you that can be seen by your eyes. Same thing is true of all of our senses. Our senses are really good at telling us exactly what our senses are good at detecting. As an example, if it were raining outside, you could know by going outside and feeling the rain. Or if you were inside, you could look outside and see the rain. Or if there were not a window, perhaps you could hear the rain on the roof. But if you're down in the basement and there's no windows and you're in the middle of the building and you can't hear or see or feel anything that has to do with the rain, your senses will tell you that it's not raining, but it's still raining. And what we want to do is not allow ourselves to be distracted because there's something that our senses, our five senses, can't tell us that's true anyway. So for the meditation today, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over to that infinite power that Reverend Dave was talking about, the creator, whatever that creative power and presence is. It's not the one that we have to beseech and hopefully get a favor out of. That's not the power that we're opening ourselves to, the indwelling power. So what I invite you to do is to close your eyes or go into a soft focus and take a deep breath in. Let it go. Another deep, intentional breath. Let it go. One more deep, intentional. Let it go. Let your breath return to an even cadence. And allow all of the distractions of the world around you to go away. And as you do that, you can allow your inner eyes to open. that which goes beyond the senses. This is an infinitely vast in the daytime, and we know that on the other side of the planet it's nighttime. We know that in the nighttime we can see the stars in the sky. Right now we prefer to go outside and look. Breathe out and feel the seat that you're sitting in. Your body is supported in this time and this place by the seat. That seat in turn is supported by the floor beneath you and the building beneath the floor. The foundation beneath the building and the earth beneath the foundation, all the way down to the very center of the earth. The column, miles tall, you're right here. This place. And around you out, up to the ceiling, past the ceiling, to the roof of the building, to the sky, to the clouds, to the atmosphere, out into space, past our solar system, depths of our galaxy, out past our galaxy, part of the universe, which is all exists. Breathe into the awareness of the vastness. Creative power that created all of this. That prayer is to that indwelling power and presence, because that infinite good that is everything, that is everywhere, that is everyone, and it is each of us. The presence of infinite, the presence of God is indwelling. It's every bit as much within us as it is outside of us. It is not possible that God is everywhere and everything except me and the three around me. God is all. So as we go together into the quiet, I invite you to deepen into your awareness of that infinite power and presence. Open your inner ear. Allow the infinite to suggest, do I something you want to have in your life? They tell you something change in your life. Perhaps there's just an experience. Let's go together and allow.
And so I speak this word on behalf of each one present on this call, knowing that that infinite, that divine life, that allness of being, the unconditioned field of love, is present fully in all of its expression through and as absolutely everything, from the smallest particle of energy to the vastness of all that is. It is all this one life, this one love, this one spirit, this one power. And so I know that I live, move, and have my being as a reflection of a divine idea, one of wholeness. That idea is perfect, regardless of whatever conditions may be evidenced. It is whole and complete, always and now. Knowing this of myself, I know this of each one on the call, that everyone, everywhere is an individualized expression, a unique and wonderful reflection of a divine idea that is perfect, whole, and complete in this very instant. So I speak this word on behalf of everyone, knowing that that divine expression of creative life is unfolding effortlessly, easily, and joyously, with harmony and vitality, with all of the ideas, all of the intentions, all of the demonstrations of an infinite power knowing itself through this avenue of life that is the individual channel. I know that the divine is sharing itself with itself in all relationships, and therefore the relationships of each one on this call are absolutely harmonized and perfected in that expression of love and interaction that is creating the wholeness of this moment of experience. That those relationships are harmonized and joyous. For joy is the expression of the divine. I know that all of the expressions of creative source and work are happening effortlessly, easily, and joyously as this divine activity, this omni activity of life unfolding through the unique channels of each person. I know that the limitless source is present for, as, and through everything, and therefore is available to each one right here and right now in the exact proportion to the acceptance of the good that is now present. And that is happening, for the divine knows itself through and as everything, and therefore knows its own good as everything, available in each and every moment. So I just give thanks to speak this word of recognition, to know that the divine is unfolding effortlessly with all of the intentions, with all of the desires, with all of the good that is unfolding right here and right now. I give thanks to know that the law is responding to this word. It is bringing it about, for it has all of the power and the intelligence required to make all of this. And so it is responding to these ideas in exact proportion to the clarity and the acceptance of them, effortlessly, knowing how. And so with this gratitude and joy, I release my word to the law and let it become fulfilled in this moment now. I allow it. I accept it on behalf of each one on this call and myself. And so it is. So I invite you to take a deep breath. Bring yourself back into your current position in the grand scheme of things, and we'll listen to some more music.
I can hold my breath. I can bite my tongue. I can crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart. I'm only human. I can turn it on, be a good machine. I can hold the weight of worlds if that's what you need. Be your everything. I can do it. I can do it. I'll get through it. But I'm only human. And I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human. And I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart. 'Cause I'm only human. Oh, I'm only human. I'm only human. Just a little human. I can take so much till I've had enough. 'Cause I'm only human. And I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human. I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart. 'Cause I'm only human.
Thank you, Alyssa. So this is the time we like to open it up to the community to see if there are any insights that have come about that you'd like to share with the rest of us. If you could just raise your hand and we'll unmute you and you can share. Okay.
Hi.
Hey, Carlann.
A lot's going through my mind. Hi, thank you very much for everything today. It's been beautiful. A lot's going through my mind. And about prayer working, about everything. And you know, when we're at the CA Center, I usually find myself just jotting notes on the program. But now I'm sitting at my desk and I just have been, the last several weeks, I just jot notes on stickies. And so all around my computer are all of these stickies that say God is everything and I'm centered in the love of God and all of that. And I also attend the spiritual practices course and it's just really life-changing. But like, I think about the prayers that we do in there and the prayers that people do for me and that I'm doing for others. And then all the prayers around my computer. And, you know, this year started very difficultly for me. It was very difficult. And I just feel so much better. So to me, that's complete evidence that prayer works, I did Beyond Limits probably about 3 years ago through another congregation, and now I'm doing spiritual practices. And I cannot tell you how delightful it is and how life-changing it is. So I think that you should do Beyond Limits too. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Sarah?
I just want to thank Alyssa. I mean, I don't know. I am a, like, tend to be a little bit of a blubbering mess a lot of the time, but I don't know. Something about today, you really inspired me, and I just love when you're with us, and I'm really thankful. So I just want to share that.
Love you, Sarah.
I love you, Alyssa.
Hello, Sarah. Finally, I'm unmuted. It's good. Thank you.
Is anyone else? Okay, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Our community is supported by your contributions. The gifts you share help fund our work in the world, and the way you shine your light spreads the love. We're grateful for every way you share. We don't have a basket today, but there's a donate button on the website. If you'd like to make a donation through PayPal, you can also mail a check to our office in Ardmore. But the offering affirmation is on our screen and we can say it together. I live in an abundant universe. I am one with the infinite source of all good. I am a center of conscious prosperity. I enjoy the richness of life. I bless my gift. I share my gift with gratitude and joy. I know that as I give, I do receive.
And so it is.
So it is.
We have one more song from Alyssa, and you can let that play in the background while you go over to the donate button.
Been waiting on the sunset, bills on my mindset. I can't deny they're getting higher than my income. My income's breadcrumbs. I've been trying to survive. The glow that the sun gives right around sunset helps me realize that this is just a journey. Drop your worries, you are gonna turn out fine. You'll turn out fine. You'll turn out fine. But you gotta keep your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey. Gotta keep your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey. I know it's hard to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up. You can let your head down, hey. Got my hands in my pockets, kicking these rocks. It's kinda hard to watch this life go by. Buying into skeptics mess with the confidence in my eyes. Seeing all the angles starts to get tangled. I start to compromise my life and my purpose. Is it all worth it? Am I gonna turn out fine? Turn out fine. I'll turn out fine. But you gotta keep your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey. Gotta keep your head up, oh, you can let your head down, hey. I know it's hard to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up, and you can let your head down, hey. Only rainbows after rain, the sun will always come again, and it's a circle, circling around again. It comes around. I said only rainbows after rain, the sun will always come again, and it's a circle, circling around again. It comes around, but you gotta keep your head up, oh, you can let your head down, hey. Gotta keep your head up, oh, you can let your head down, hey. I know it's hard to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up, You can let your head down. Hey.
Thank you, Alyssa. And we are grateful for all of the gifts and the way that everything is shared and the way that the love is flowing. So Reverend Dave is going to close us up now. If you'd like to turn your mic on so we can make a nice cacophony together.
That's right. That's right. So reach out and take the mind of the person next to you. Don't worry, it's completely COVID safe, right? And say with me or after me, I am the love.
I am the love.
Love.
I am the light.
I am
the light.
I share my love
I share
The love.
and I shine my light.
and I shine my light.
And so it is.
And so
it is.
Namaste. All stick around if you want to chat. If you need an urgent prayer, send Reverend Bill a chat, a note or an email. Love you all.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.